This was my first year with a proper vegetable garden, and considering that before I moved to the countryside, my only gardening experience was a year growing in containers on my patio, I've managed to harvest quite a bit from my small greenhouse and 7 raised beds. Over the last few weeks, I've been trying different preservation methods to hopefully make it last as long as possible, and now we're firmly into autumn, I need to work out exactly where I'm going to store it all over the winter. There's a small room tucked behind the staircase that until now I've just been using as a kind of graveyard for everything that I don't know what to do with, and I'm hopeful that with a little bit of work over the next week or so, I might be able to turn it into a fairly practical pantry storage space. Is it store in a cool, dark place or store in a cool, dry place that they write on food storage labels? Either way, it's dry, it's dark, and it's an uninsulated stone cottage in the northeast of Scotland. Cool is probably as warm as it gets. Like everything I do inside, this is going to be a budget project because it's a temporary makeover. I'm still waiting on my building warrant for the renovation, but because I'm going to need somewhere to live while I'm ripping out the inside of the cottage, I'm not planning on starting work on this half of the building until I've converted the barn half of the building. And at the moment, it's looking like that's going to need to be knocked down and rebuilt. So even when the work starts, it'll be quite a while before it starts in here, so I'm going to be able to get my money's worth from my temporary makeovers. My plan is get some shelving units, make better use of the cupboards that I've already got, build some small storage, and get a fairly cheap rug to cover up as much of the questionable carpet as possible. Practicality is the most important thing, but it would be quite nice if it didn't look terrible. You are full of breakable things and too heavy to move full, so I'm gonna have to take everything out. I've picked possibly the ugliest shelving option on the market for several reasons. These are just standard garage shelves. They're pretty affordable and I'll be able to reuse them in a shed or a workshop really easily when I don't need them in the house anymore. And you can get heavy duty options of these rated for different weights. I've gone for a set that you can put 250 kilos of weight on each shelf, which means I should be able to store quite a lot of heavy stuff on them, which is handy because things like boxes of potatoes and home canned glass jars full of food are pretty hefty, and the thought of a shelf collapsing under the weight of jars of jam and home canned things and smashing on the floor is devastating. So I'm pretty hopeful that these will be able to do the job, and I'm planning on making them a little bit prettier using some paint that I've got kicking around in the workshop shed. When you're short on storage space, you have to make the most of all the space that you've got. And I've got this plastic tray. I don't know where this came from. I think it would have been my mum's at one point. And it fits perfectly on top of the cupboards in my soon-to-be pantry room. And I looked them up online, and you can pick up these trays for £1.60 per tray, and I'll be able to get 6 in a line across the top of those cupboards. But for an assortment of reasons, I try to avoid buying things brand new when I can, regardless of whether they're made of plastic or not. And I've got an old pallet and some leftover offcuts of 6mm MDF from when I was building my desk and shelves in my office at the beginning of the year, so I'm going to attempt to make my own storage trays instead. Pallets are a lot harder to come by in the countryside than I expected. This one came with my battery generator, and I'm not sure if I was more excited about the arrival of the generator or the pallet, which probably explains why I live alone. This is not as fast as the time-lapse instructional videos led me to believe. I've realised that not only is this harder than I thought it was going to be, but for the length of pieces I need for my storage trays, I can just get my circular saw out and cut between the nails. So that's what I'm going to do. I've been reminded just how bad I am at anything involving precision measurement, so that's fun. It's nice to be humbled once in a while. Those £1.60 baskets are looking pretty good right now. Sven's still not exactly sure what to make of the chickens, but seeing as they're living in 5-star accommodation and he's stuck in the cottage with me, I thought he deserved an upgrade all of his own, which is why I'm partnering with Catkin for this week's ad. There's only one picky eater in this house, and it's not Sven. He'd have you believe that he never gets fed and will try to eat anything, from cat food to my food to the many and varied delicacies of the local rodent population. Before we switched to Catkin, he was always hungry, and he wasn't shy about letting me know. Breakfast time was getting earlier and earlier because trying to sleep while he's licking my hair and digging his claws into my face isn't easy. Catkin make fresh meals that put cats first by putting their food in the fridge where fresh food belongs. Most cat food is made up of fillers like grains and sugar that bulk it out but don't keep cats full. Catkin gives your cat the food they've been craving, 100% human-grade meat and fish, compared to only 4% in leading cat food brands. Gently cooked to retain natural nutrients and taste, all recipes are crafted by their vet nutritionist, and with portion sizes tailored to your cat's age, weight, and activity levels, you know they're getting the amount of food they need. Sven loves it, and it's definitely made a difference to his energy levels. He's spending less of the day sleeping, and he's a lot more interested in what I'm up to. He started following me around while I'm working in the garden, which after a year of him being pretty much indifferent towards me is lovely to see. Now, if he could just get more interested in the mice living in my walls, that would be great. For 50% off your first trial box at Catkin, use code SVEN50 at the link below, or use the QR code on screen. I was out here quite late last night working on my storage boxes, and I went inside and thought I'd have a shower to warm up. And I think I mentioned on Instagram that my hot water had stopped working again, but that was a relatively easy fix. And the plumber talked me through how to reset the heating element on the phone. So I've done that. I've got hot water again. Excellent. But I turned on the shower and it just made noise and there was no water. So instead of a nice warming shower, I had soup and sat under a blanket. But I solved the mystery of why the shower wasn't working slightly later in the evening when I went to fill up the kettle, because there isn't any water. The well has run dry. It has been so dry, even though it is now October, the well is dry. So there isn't any water. And I have 20 litres of drinking water on hand for emergencies. And I've got about 500 litres of water in my rainwater storage in the garden. So I can use that for the cat, the chickens, flushing the toilet, watering the plants. But things like washing myself, drinking water and cooking with, I'm going to need to use bottled water. So I'm really hoping that we get some rain at some point soon. It's amazing how much we take running water for granted, because cleaning my paint stuff without it is going to be a pain. I'm just using some leftover paint from my storage boxes, and I didn't have that much to pick from. So this is a green that I used for a cupboard door at my last house. I didn't get nearly as much done yesterday as I was planning to, because I spent quite a bit of the afternoon peering down the well, which was empty. I went to have a look at it with my neighbour, who luckily knows a lot more about wells than I do. And there are a few of us that use the same well. And the well was empty. It was wet, but empty, which shows that it emptied pretty quickly. And a couple of my neighbours have holding tanks, so they hadn't noticed that there was a problem with the water until I pointed it out, because I am the last house on the well. So I'm the first person to lose water when anything happens. And it is slowly refilling, very, very slowly. And because there's a lot of air in the pipes now, we need quite a lot of water in the well to have enough pressure to push the air out of the pipes, especially to get all the way down to where I am. So hopefully we'll get some rain at some point, but it has been an incredibly dry year. I think it's been the driest since the mid-70s, maybe. So we could do with quite a lot of rain and also quite a lot of snow over the winter to get the groundwater up. And yeah, I don't know when that's going to happen. We're not forecast rain for a while. So we're all trying to use as little water as possible, which isn't really a problem for me, because as I'm the last house on the well, I don't have any water. So I'm just using my bottled water and my rainwater and hoping for the best. There was some very gurgly pipes last night, so something is happening. Hopefully, maybe I'll get water at some point in the next few days. But as it is, I'm quite glad I live alone, because I haven't had a chance to have a shower in 3 days. Oh my goodness. I think it's going to be dark by the time I finish this. It's not perfect, but it's just a movable, non-electric temporary chicken fence, and it'll do for now. Eventually, I'm going to let the hens free range, but I wanted to give them a little bit more space and let them get out of the run, and hopefully keep them from wandering into the vegetable garden or into the road, but we'll see. Watching you live your little best lives is definitely worth all of the time it took to get the fence up. I did see a pine marten on my way home yesterday, so you'll be in that coop by dark, my friends. Daddy didn't raise no pine marten dinners. You cannot go that way. that is not happening. Nope, I will not be outsmarted by a chicken within 5 minutes of putting the fence up. That is not happening. Right, I'm not letting you fox me. It's grey and damp, and you could almost believe that it's been raining, but sadly it hasn't. It is day 4 with no running water, and I'm going to go and have a look down the well before I get started on my list of jobs for the day. There's water in there, but not much more than when I looked on Tuesday, and it's trickling in, but it's incredibly slow. And at this rate, I feel like I will be using bottled water for quite a while, and the novelty of that has already worn off. If I could just get clean in a dust bath like you ladies, my life would be so much easier right now. I've finally got enough tomatoes to make and can another batch of marinara sauce, but it's going to have to wait for a bit because now I don't have enough water to water bath can them. I am really glad that I put in all of the rainwater harvesting that I have done because I've got 600 litres of rainwater stored, which is making my life a lot easier this week. I've still got a couple of water butts on the potting shed that are completely empty because it's just not collecting water, so I need to reconfigure that a little bit. And I am planning on doubling my rainwater harvesting capacity over the winter because if we have another dry year, watering the vegetable garden next summer is going to be really, really difficult. So I'd like to be able to store 2,000 litres of rainwater at minimum. So that is a job for the winter, and I'm probably going to move it higher up my to-do list than it originally was. The raised beds were the next project on the list after the pantry, and I think we're going to pause on those and put more water butts in because can't grow vegetables without water, whether you've got raised beds or not. While the box fronts are drying, I've come inside to finish working on the shelves. I really want to be able to put things on them today because the house is a mess and there's only so much chaos I can deal with at once. The shelves that come with these units are just plain sheets of MDF, but I had a spare roll of wood effect vinyl left over from making my desktop earlier in the year, so I'm covering them with that. And it doesn't really look that realistic, but it's nicer than the plain MDF, and it means they'll be a little bit more wipe clean if anything gets spilled on them. I'm going to spend the rest of the evening organising everything I've got so far. This time last week, I was at an award ceremony wearing a suit and feeling fancy, and now I'm spending my evening organising glass jars and vegetables and going to my neighbour's for a shower because I haven't had a proper wash in 4 days. My life is ridiculous. Last week, when I looked up the instructions on water glassing eggs, it says if you're using tap water, you should let it sit for 24 hours because it's chemically treated. And I was really smug because my water comes straight out of the ground and it's UV filtered. So I was like, yeah, I could just use water from the tap. And who's laughing now? The people on Maine's water, that's who. 1 quart of water to 1 ounce of lime. What's that in measurements that makes sense? Apparently, water glassing preserves eggs for 18 months. These will probably get used up before then, but I am all in favour of preservation methods that don't take up freezer space. It's got a long way to go, but it's definitely looking better than it was at the beginning of the week. Short term, I'm going to build a set of shelves to go in the corner next to the cabinets, and I inherited a vegetable rack from my parents that I'm going to put in front of it. And long term, the ratio of empty glass jars to food just isn't good enough. So I'm going to try and fix that. Ideally, I'd like one of the cabinets to be completely full of dehydrated food and one set of shelves to be full of home preserved food. But that is very much a long-term goal. If you ignore the labels on my overflow supply of tinned food, it kind of has a vibe of a shop from the 1940s, and I'm not mad about it. If you need me, I'll be outside doing a rain dance. See you next weekend.